Tonight, the world's attention is fixed on a small but incredibly important nation in the Middle East. We are talking about Qatar, and more specifically, the Al Udeid air base located just southwest of its capital, Doha. This base is not just another military post, it is the largest and most significant American military installation in the entire region. It serves as a central hub for U.S. Central Command operations, coordinating air power across a vast and often volatile area. For years, this base has been a symbol of the strong military partnership between the United States and Qatar, a cornerstone of American strategy in the Middle East. The importance of Al Udeid cannot be overstated. It houses approximately 10,000 American troops, alongside advanced fighter jets, bombers, and refueling aircraft. Its long runways and extensive facilities allow the United States to project power and respond to crises from Afghanistan to Syria. The base is a city in itself, a sprawling complex that supports thousands of personnel from the U.S. and its coalition partners. Because of its central role, any threat against Al Udeid is seen as a direct challenge to American military presence and its ability to operate freely in this critical part of the world. The base's location in Qatar also places it in a delicate geopolitical position. Qatar maintains complex relationships with its neighbors and with global powers, including both the United States and Iran. It has often played the role of a mediator, trying to bridge divides in a region marked by deep-seated rivalries. For this reason, the Al Udeid base represents both American strength and the intricate diplomatic balancing act that defines the modern Middle East. The presence of such a major U.S. facility makes Qatar a key partner, but also places it directly in the crosshairs during times of heightened tension. Therefore, when news broke of an attack on this facility, it sent shockwaves far beyond the Qatari desert. An assault on Al Udeid is not just a military action, it is a powerful statement aimed squarely at Washington. It tests alliances, challenges strategic calculations, and raises urgent questions about the stability of the entire region. The events of Monday, June 23, 2025, were a direct consequence of escalating hostilities that had been building for days, turning this vital outpost into a front line in a dangerous conflict that had suddenly intensified. To understand why Iran launched missiles at a U.S. base, we must look at the events that happened just before. The attack did not occur in a vacuum. It was a direct and calculated response to American military action against Iran. Over the weekend of June 22nd and 23rd, the United States conducted a series of airstrikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear sites. These sites included the heavily fortified Fordo underground enrichment facility, a key part of Iran's nuclear program. This was a major escalation in the ongoing tensions between the two nations. The American bombing was authorized by President Trump, who stated the action was necessary to protect vital U.S. national interests. The administration also cited the defense of its close ally, Israel, as a primary reason for the strikes. This move was seen in Tehran as a grave provocation, an act of war aimed at crippling Iran's most sensitive technological and defense capabilities. In response, Iran's leadership promised a swift and forceful retaliation. They felt they had no choice but to demonstrate their strength and resolve in the face of what they considered a direct assault on their sovereignty. Iran's decision to target Al Udeid was highly symbolic. By striking the largest U.S. base in the region, Tehran aimed to show that American military assets were not untouchable. It was a message that Iran could and would strike back, even against the most powerful military in the world. The Supreme National Security Council of Iran later announced that the number of missiles they fired was meant to match the number of bombs the U.S. had used against their nuclear sites. This highlights the eye for an eye nature of the retaliation, a carefully calibrated move designed to send a clear signal. The broader context of this exchange is what has been called the 12-Day War, a period of intense conflict involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. This period has seen significant violence and casualties on multiple sides, creating a powder keg atmosphere across the Middle East. The U.S. strikes and the subsequent Iranian missile launch were the latest and perhaps most dangerous developments in this spiraling conflict. Each side felt compelled to respond to the other's actions, pushing the region closer to the brink of a full-scale war that nobody claimed to want. The attack began under the cover of darkness on Monday, June 23rd. Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles, somewhere between 14 and 19 in total, streaking across the Persian Gulf toward Qatar. The target was clear: the Al Udeid Air Base. For those on the ground, it was a moment of high alert as sirens blared and defense systems activated. The attack represented one of the most direct confrontations between Iran and the United States military in recent history. The world watched and held its breath, waiting to see the outcome of this dangerous escalation. Fortunately, the base's defenses, a combination of American and Qatari systems, proved remarkably effective. Military officials reported that all but one of the incoming missiles were successfully intercepted and destroyed before they could reach their target. The single missile that penetrated the defense shield landed harmlessly, with one report suggesting it struck an unoccupied building near the base perimeter. Crucially, the Pentagon confirmed that there were no casualties or injuries among U.S. or coalition forces. This outcome was a testament to the advanced military technology protecting the base. One of the most surprising elements of the attack was that Iran had provided advance warning. Officials confirmed that both the United States and Qatar were notified before the missiles were launched. This move was widely interpreted as an attempt by Iran to save face and retaliate without causing American casualties, which would have almost certainly triggered a massive U.S. military response. President Trump later acknowledged this, even thanking Iran for the early notice. This strange diplomatic courtesy in the midst of a military strike showed that both sides were trying to manage the escalation. Despite the lack of casualties, the reactions from leaders were starkly different. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps hailed the attack as devastating and powerful, a successful demonstration of its military might. In contrast, President Trump publicly downplayed the event, calling it a very weak response. A White House official signaled a desire to de-escalate, stating, "We want a deal and don't want any more war." The attack was a serious military event, yet it was also a piece of political theater, with each side crafting a narrative for its domestic and international audiences. In the immediate aftermath of the missile strike, the focus quickly shifted from conflict to diplomacy. Qatar, despite having its sovereignty violated by the attack, stepped into its familiar role as a mediator. Qatari officials worked tirelessly behind the scenes to de-escalate the situation, facilitating communication between Washington and Tehran. Their efforts were crucial in pulling the region back from the edge of a wider war. Qatar's airspace, which had been closed for about 4 hours during the crisis, was reopened, signaling a return to a fragile sense of normalcy. These diplomatic efforts led to a major announcement. On Tuesday, June 24th, just hours after the attack, President Trump declared that a complete and total ceasefire had been agreed to between Israel and Iran. This was the breakthrough everyone had been hoping for, a potential end to the 12-day conflict that had already claimed many lives. The ceasefire announcement brought a wave of relief, and global markets responded positively. Oil prices fell and stocks rose as investors bet that the worst of the crisis was over, and a full-scale war had been averted for now. However, the path to peace remains incredibly fragile. Even as the ceasefire was being announced, the violence continued. Iran launched another missile barrage at Israel after the deadline had passed, tragically killing at least 4 people in the city of Beersheba. Israel too continued its own strikes in Iran right up until the final moments before the ceasefire was set to take effect. These final acts of aggression underscore the deep mistrust and hostility that still exist, reminding everyone how quickly the situation could unravel once again. The ceasefire is in place, but tensions are still dangerously high. Looking ahead, the events of the past few weeks have reshaped the security landscape of the Middle East. The direct military exchanges between Iran, Israel, and the United States have set a new and dangerous precedent. While diplomacy has for the moment succeeded, the underlying issues remain unresolved. The people of the region who have borne the brunt of this conflict, with over 1,000 killed in Iran and dozens in Israel, are now living in a state of anxious uncertainty. The ceasefire has provided a pause, but the question of whether it can lead to lasting peace and stability remains the most critical challenge facing leaders today.